Hi, this is Andrea Jennings. Welcome to Access for All, Integrating Accessibility, where we explore the intersection of pop culture and accessibility. We'll shine the spotlight on those who are opinion leaders in the accessibility world. They are making groundbreaking change in this show. So join us each episode as we change the future. Ellen, I'm so grateful to have you here today. I mean,
Thank you.
You're doing so much in the community for people who are experiencing hearing loss, the deaf community, which we'll talk about later, about the
Okay.
culture. And this is going to be such a fun conversation, but yet an educational one. There's
I
so
hope
many
so.
people. Yeah. I've even gone to the center before, and it wound up being that I did not need a hearing aid. But I would love for you to talk a little bit about your background. How did you get into this industry? I do know that you were an audiologist
hmm
for quite a while, and now you are the executive director.
I look at that as my
Yes,
second career.
yes. And then I met one of the president, am I saying that right, of the board,
The board of
the board of
directors, yes,
directors.
because we're a not-for-profit. So we're run by a board of directors who
And her name again?
Armida Balan.
Armida Maryland. So
They,
wonderful person. So yes, how did you get into this industry, first of all?
well, when I was going to college a long time ago, my father informed me that I better have a profession when I came out.
Sounds like my mom. Okay. But it
A-
was good still. Yeah.
And at the time, audiology was a brand new field. And we had a family friend who was an ear surgeon who knew me, growing up. And he said I was friendly and outgoing and liked to talk to people, and it would be a good job for me. So I went and shadowed at his office and ended up getting a master's degree in audiology, which was a new degree then. Today, an audiologist degree is an AUD, a doctorate. And I became an audiologist, and my first job was at a doctor's office. And then my second job was as an audiologist at Hear Center, where I still am today.
Wow. And over the course of those years, what kind of changes have you noticed,
Oh,
culturally wise? We talked about that earlier,
yeah.
and just technology wise. I'm sure you've seen a lot. So,
So many changes, so for the good of the community. Today, we test babies newborn before they leave the hospital and are able to identify a hearing loss. Whereas when I started my career, the average identification of a baby with a hearing loss was 2.5, because there were no automated test results that allowed for the baby not complying with the test, but us being able with technology to assess hearing or no hearing. So it has made a huge change in what we maybe then referred to a lot of the deaf community, because since children were identified so much later, they missed so much development of their speech and language because they hadn't heard for the first 2 to 3 years of their lives. They were already behind. Whereas now we identify children at birth. They are normally fit for hearing aids or even have a cochlear implant or another type of intervention by the time they're 6 months old. And they have a very short speech and language delay, and usually by school age, they're like every other kindergartner. And we don't identify them as a member of the deaf or hearing impaired community because they're doing very well.
so tell me a little bit about how we can actually respect all the different cultural identities within the community that you serve.
So that's a great question because we definitely want to provide service and be attuned to all the different communities. And there is a segment of the deaf community that does not want any technological assistance. They don't use hearing aids.
And we respect that, right? Yeah.
Yes, of course, everyone makes their own choice. And their community has a very rich history, and they communicate with American Sign Language. It's a very beautiful language. We try our best to offer assistance for them, for children who are going through early education, the public school systems. They do require some technology help that the schools can use, and we partner with them to provide what they need. But some choose not to use hearing aids other than in an academic setting, and we choose to assist them as they best need.
Yeah, and speaking about respecting people's choices, you told me a story that was a bit heartbreaking, but I want you to share about a little girl who picked some hearing aids that she liked, but
So it's actually a story that really shows how much things have changed in our world, because children wear hearing aids with something called an ear mold that fits in their ear, and it's a kind of an acrylic material, and you can make it in almost any color. And of course, originally you could only make it in sort of a, ugly beigey color. And
the medical kind of.
Yes, nobody liked that color. Right. And as the years went on, and we're talking in the 80s and 90s, they were able to make them in all beautiful colors, bright colors, pink, red, blue, sparkles.
Personalize it.
Right? Yes. So
did you have pink?
Like we did, and we had sparkle pink.
Ooh, okay.
And the hearing aids themselves, also you could make the cases in almost any color you wanted. So all our little girls and little boys so wanted their colors. Right. And we had a mom who just was not comfortable with that. She didn't want it to be visible in any way. And it was a real push and pull between mom and dad and a very determined, 4-year-old.
Because she was proud, you know, and she's like, hey, I want to show my personality.
But now that's a given.
Right.
The first thing we say is, what color do you want? And it's a real good thing.
How does that make you? I was going to say, how does that make you feel to see that the evolution of the style?
It makes me happy. It takes a lot of pressure off of the audiology department when they're not trying to please the parent and the child, when certain things are just accepted now.
Yeah, and I'm sure you see that a lot, where you want to center the patient, you want to center the child, or whoever's the patient.
Harmony is the way to go.
Yes, exactly. That's so great. We talked a little bit about entertainment spaces. Can you tell us, because I have a wide audience that deals with entertainment. I definitely study venues and how they're accessible, but I'd love to hear your expertise on this.
So there's a lot of stuff going on in that space. We're here in Pasadena, and the Pasadena Playhouse is what's called looped. And that's something so that people who have hearing aids can actually set their own hearing aid to the T setting, which is a telephone setting. And it's very automatic. They can just switch to it. And then it's as if they're hearing the actors directly into their hearing aids. Also, that's available in many theaters. And also you can rent headphones that will provide you that same situation. So most theaters, concert venues now do have services for hearing impaired, or even if you just have a mild hearing loss and you just want it louder, all those things will help. And on the other side, for people working in the entertainment industry, I think we touched on it briefly, the cell phone and texting is the biggest help for people with a hearing loss. And chat features, all the things that you can use for a landline if you're using it are available, and for your computer, your tablets all have devices to sync with hearing aids or a mic.
That's awesome. Thank you for educating us. And so if somebody is building out a new venue, this is something that they want to look into looping. And for those who already have venues, what would you suggest if they
It,
don't have it? Yeah.
they can, there are companies that will come out and loop for you. And now there are many consultants that the entertainment industry uses to come and make your site accessible and help your employees to be better connected.
Yeah.
People who specialize in that, because now the technology is changing all the time. And even I have to ask an expert, what's new?
What's new? Right.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that's changing, which is
Mhm.
so good. I'm sure that you're so happy to see that
Oh,
change. Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah.
It's great. It's helped people so much because people aren't isolated anymore.
Yes.
And that's the biggest problem with hearing loss, isolation and
Yeah.
depression, because you're cut off from society.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. So in my research, I saw that this center provides free, I'm not sure if it's care or what it's called,
I
yeah,
can,
for the community. Thank you. Please explain about that.
so that's actually one of the things that we're most proud of at Here Center. We call it our community access program. And we go out to the community and we provide free hearing screenings at all kinds of centers, from daycare, preschools, day schools, senior centers, residential communities, and we provide a free hearing screening. And for anyone who fails, we provide a free diagnostic hearing test at Hear Center. And that includes getting all the proper recommendations for what do I do next.
That's
And
amazing.
that's what people need. They need to know, okay, what do I do?
Next steps, right?
Next steps, sometimes it's medical.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a hearing aid. It can be a whole range of things. And until you know why there's a hearing loss or why there's a communication problem, we can't tell what to do.
Yeah.
It's very much individual.
I'm glad you brought that up. And for those who have never had a hearing exam, can you bring us up to speed on what that process is like? For those who are like, yeah, I'm not going. Is it painful? Is it uncomfortable?
It's a very pleasant visit.
Okay.
It takes about 30 minutes. We will look in your ears, see if there's anything like wax obstructing your ears and impacting your hearing. We do a pressure test to make sure that your eardrums are moving normally. We look for some reflexes. We measure a reflex that shows if there's hearing at the level of the brain. And then we do the standard hearing tests that everyone is familiar with the headphones. When you raise your hand, when you hear the beep, we have you repeat some words to see how your understanding of speech is. It's very painless. It's kind of fun. And we give you the results right then and there. So you know what we found and what is recommended based on those results.
Great.
And our services are free to anyone over 65 for hearing testing. And if you've had any hearing screening done by us, then you need to come back in. Again, those are all free, and everything else is very low cost.
That's really good to know. And thank you for providing that great service to the community. Since a lot of the work that I do is in accessibility and disability, what are some disabilities, like maybe a stroke or something that usually people should get their hearing checked just in case? I can imagine maybe people have been in motor vehicle accidents, maybe. Have you noticed any one particular?
For adults, oftentimes as adults, we get older, we take different medications. They may have some side effects that cause some hearing issues. Stroke, certainly, like you've mentioned, or if you've had any head trauma. For our pediatric population, all children, like I said, have a newborn hearing screening. But as they're hitting their developmental milestones, they should have a hearing test to make sure that nothing is impacting their hearing that would impact their speech and language development, which is about 0 to 6, very critical for them to have good hearing. And that's the age when they get a lot of colds and ear infections. So we want to stay on top of that.
Yes.
And our young people even are listening very much to everything through
A headset,
AirPods.
Right. You got to be careful with that
Yeah,
eardrum.
you really have to watch that volume so that you don't cause any early hearing loss by exposing yourself to sounds too loud for too many hours of the day.
What's considered too loud? What decibel or what should we keep our headphones at?
So there's an official OSHA guideline that you can Google easily.
OSHA stands for
Occupational Safety and Health Act. So they have all the levels measured out and they're easily looked up. But if you are listening to music and you're blinking, you're too loud.
That's one of the first indicators, right?
Right. And I often tell young people, if I can hear your music,
it's too loud.
It's too loud. So we don't like to go over, about 75 to 80 dB. You start getting into the trouble area.
Is there any difference between the ones that go over your ears versus the ones that they're pods that go inside?
So
does that impact your hearing?
It depends. The ones that go over your ears oftentimes have some sound that they're cutting out, like a lot of background noise, so you don't get a lot of that.
Okay.
And the ones that go just in your ears, they all vary, but if you look at something that has a cutoff level or it suppresses certain sounds, that's better. You have to read what you're getting.
Yeah. I'm going to go back a little bit to children. I'm sure there's many parents watching and want to know what kind of things that we're looking for. Or you're saying that newborns are tested now. So is there anything that people can do between newborn and maybe school age that they could look for? Have you seen children that may develop hearing loss in between the stages of
Yes.
and school age?
So since kids are usually getting sick a lot in those years, just the general cold, virus, ear infections, oftentimes there is an associated mild to moderate hearing loss because their ears may be congested. And that is medically treated, usually by their pediatrician. And the pediatrician will make the call if it's significant and ongoing enough to refer them to an ear, nose, and throat specialist. And then there are specific medical procedures that they can do to clear the ears. But it's important to have a hearing test for kids if you notice that they're saying what.
That's an indicator.
They don't seem to be responding like they have been to their name. And if you feel that your child's speech and language isn't developing at a rate that you consider normal, you have questions about it, one of the first things to do is have a hearing test.
We talked about community work. So can you tell us a little bit about, well, first of all, thank you for answering that question for the parents, because, there's parents and they're always wondering. And I love what you said. It's not a particular level. It's what they're comfortable at.
Right.
Because people reach milestones at different ages.
Right.
So there's no one particular thing.
There's a wide range of normal in children.
Right. Exactly. So we don't want anyone to get
no
fearful, but just some guidelines. But your community work, or the work that the Hear Center does with the Rotary, can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. Rotary has been a very supportive partner of Hear Center. Rotary has a community grants program, and oftentimes their focus for the year is health, and they have supported Hear Center each of those years so that we've been able to go on and provide more community outreach, more free screenings in the greater Pasadena area. They're very committed to the public good. They're
Yeah.
a great partner.
I wasn't that familiar with the work that the Rotary does until our producer, showrunner, executive, Siri told me about it.
Yeah.
Can you explain for those viewers like myself that don't know much about the Rotary?
Rotary is an international organization that was started, don't kill me, Rotary, if I get it wrong.
Right.
I think in the early 1930s, in somewhere in the
Somewhere in there,
Midwest,
yeah.
where a group of business people started to meet and they wanted to provide good for their community. And they were the bankers, the shop owners, the doctors, the lawyers. So they didn't allow women in those days. They long ago have
So
fixed
that
that.
changed.
Yes, very much.
Good job.
Um, so they named themselves Rotary because they rotated from place to place where they met.
Okay, gotcha.
And that
Hence the
name Rotary. And it has spread across the whole world.
Okay.
And one of the main goals of International Rotary is getting rid of polio in the whole world. And they're really almost there. And it's a very impressive feat. So our local Rotary provides services in our community and contributes to services outside our community. And most cities have their own Rotary chapter, and it's a wonderful service organization.
And a resource to the Here Center.
Yes.
What are some of the myths that you would like to dispel here today when it comes to the services that you provide?
Well, one of the main things is for our adult consumers, getting a hearing aid is a good thing.
Okay.
It actually makes your life easier. I always, when I was still practicing in the audiology department, used to tell people, everyone notices much more that you keep saying what or answering wrong than they notice a very tiny small device that you may be wearing in your ear.
Yes.
So come in and get your hearing tested. Don't be afraid. Get the help you need.
How do you envision the future impact of the Here Center to the community? Any new programs that you have planned?
Well, I really envision that we have greater reach to provide more identification of people with hearing loss that we can help. And that's been one of my goals since I've been director, is to expand the number of people that we're able to provide free and low cost service to. Because there's a lot of people that need services, and that's one of my main goals. Another thing that I truly see is the technology revolution just keeps coming, and I'm sure I'll be surprised and pleased by what happens next to help.
Yeah, and the years that you've transitioned from audiologist to executive, how does your past experience really help you lead your company?
I know what we need to do. I know our clients. I know what hearing impaired people need and want. And I very much enjoy supervising our students now. They're so well trained. And they know so much more than when I came out of school, and they're really able to help people.
Tell me, is there anything that I left out today that you'd want to add about the work that you do, about the community, about the Here Center?
Just be aware that there's services in the community to help you with your speech and language, with your hearing. Don't ever be afraid to ask questions. Come in, find out. It's always better to know what's going on with yourself and get that information so you best know how to proceed.
I love it. I really think that this episode is so educational. We hit across entertainment. We talked about parents, children. We talked about ASL, texting. We talked about the different communities in such a short period of time. But I really just want to thank you for the work that you've done. The board, thank you for their involvement. and for the support that you get. And thank you just for being the great audiologist, director that you are with some lived experience. Well, no, you don't have lived experience. Do you? No.
Well, the only lived experience I have is that I've had every generation of student test my hearing.
Yes. But your experience as far as being somebody that
Yeah.
is not just a director, but have
Yeah.
really seen
This is my
this industry
community.
grow.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I've seen our clients grow over
Yeah.
the years and what they've been able to achieve because they had intervention when they were young
Yeah.
or when they needed it at
Yeah.
any age.
Yeah. And whether they use ASL, whether they use a hearing aid, it's one big community. And like we talked about the curb cut effect,
Right.
when we have one thing that helps, it kind of really helps us all.
Yes.
Like the captions. And did we talk about captions?
We did not, but
Would
they
you-
are so helpful,
Yeah.
and now they're so available on all our streaming services. And that was always a huge concern of the hearing impaired, that they couldn't, use media.
Yeah.
And now that's
It's been a
not
game changer.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
complete game changer.
Yeah.
Another technology that is so helpful for us.
yeah, and some of the biggest media conglomerates, like we said, have consultants.
Yeah. So they're on top of it, and the technology changes so fast, but they change with it.
Yeah, yeah. Can you give our audience any information on how they could find more information about the Hear Center, where
Yeah.
we can find you online,
Yes,
and
they
any
can.
upcoming events in the future or annual events that you have?
So you can learn about Hear Center at www.hearcenter.org.
Okay.
And if you go to our webpage, you can reach us text-wise at our smart line, or you can chat us and we will answer. You can email to info@hearcenter.org, and usually I'll answer you. We have several annual events.
Okay.
We just completed our 43rd annual Hear Center Golf Tournament, which is an industry, a concrete and ready mix industry-wide golf tournament that has supported Hear Center for 43 years. June 17th at Red Hill Country Club. We have an upcoming Pasadena Pops event where we take about 100 people to the Pops. It's a fundraiser for us. That is August 24th.
Okay.
And we are going to have a new event this year in the end of September, September 29th, a car show, which is going to be a great event. So we have tickets available for everything. And you can become a supporter of Hear Center by attending or making a donation.
That's a lot. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. No, this is really good. The Pop Center event. So you guys are really staples in Pasadena for just community building.
Yeah, our main support is here, even though our services travel all through LA County and beyond. But the group of our supporters, our core supporters, are here. But we welcome new supporters.
That's good to know. Again, thank you so much for being here today and educating our community.
My pleasure. Very
you.
nice to meet you. Thank you.
Nice to meet you as well. Pretty in pink.
Yep.
Thank you. I hope you learned something today watching Access for All Integrating Accessibility, where we dive deep into the subject of accessibility beyond and above compliance.